This is what happens when we let unqualified people in through the back door. Professor Caldwell waves Jamal's notebook in the air. You think you can fix this engine? You? He laughs. Boy, you probably can't even spell thermodynamics. He throws the notebook on the floor. Papers scatter everywhere. Students laugh. Someone yells, "Go back to shop class." Another says, "Diversity hire." Jamal kneels down, picks up his papers one by one. His hands tremble. "Sir, please let me show you." "Show me?" Caldwell steps closer. "The only thing you'll show is why people like you don't belong here. You're wasting everyone's time. My time. MIT's money." The room erupts in laughter. Jamal stands there, quiet, ashamed, alone. But in 10 minutes, this boy will expose the professor's biggest mistake, a mistake that ruined 47 students before him. Have you ever been humiliated right before your victory? Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The name alone carries weight. For over a century, this campus in Cambridge has produced the world's brightest engineers, scientists, and innovators. But prestige has a shadow side. The mechanical engineering department sits in a glass and steel building overlooking the Charles River. Inside, the hierarchy is clear. Professors at the top, graduate students in the middle, undergraduates at the bottom, and at the very bottom, students who don't look like they belong. Jamal Richardson arrived at MIT 3 months ago, 18 years old, full scholarship, first in his family to attend college. His acceptance letter felt like a miracle. His mother cried for an hour when it arrived. She worked double shifts as a nurse to keep their Detroit apartment. Now her son was at one of the best schools in the world. But miracles come with a price. On his first day, a student asked how he got in. Not congratulations, not welcome, just suspicion wrapped in a smile. Legacy admission? The boy asked. Scholarship, Jamal replied. Oh. The smile faded. One of those. In the cafeteria, he sat alone. White students clustered at their tables, Asian students at theirs. The few black students scattered across campus rarely crossed paths. His roommate, Alex Carter, was kind, but even Alex didn't understand. Just ignore them, Alex said one night. Prove yourself through your work. But how do you prove yourself when the system decides your work isn't worth seeing? Me 301, Advanced Engine Design. The class every mechanical engineering student feared. Professor Harrison Caldwell had taught it for 30 years. His reputation preceded him. Brilliant, demanding, unforgiving. And something else. Something whispered but never proven. He doesn't like certain students, a senior warned Jamal during orientation. Be careful. The first week, Caldwell handed out the syllabus. 60% of students would fail or drop. That wasn't a warning. It was a promise. Engineering isn't for everyone, Caldwell announced. Some people simply don't have the intellectual capacity. No shame in that. Better to realize it now than waste 4 years pretending. His eyes swept the room, lingered on Jamal, moved on. The midterm project was legendary. A broken diesel engine that couldn't be fixed. Students had to diagnose the problem and propose a solution. For 2 years, every student reached the same conclusion. The engine had a fundamental design flaw. It needed a complete rebuild. Expensive, complex, theoretical. Caldwell called it a teaching moment about real-world engineering constraints. But there was something wrong with that story. Jamal noticed it in week 3. During a lab session, he was assembling a practice engine. His hands moved automatically. Muscle memory from years working with his grandfather. Caldwell walked past, stopped, watched. Where did you learn to do that? His tone was sharp. My grandfather, sir, he was a mechanic. A mechanic. Caldwell said it like the word tasted bad. This isn't a garage, Mr. Richardson. We don't need grease monkeys here. We need engineers who understand theory. Other students looked up. Someone snickered. Jamal's face burned, but he kept working. The next week, Jamal submitted a lab report early. He'd spent 12 hours on it, double-checked every calculation, included detailed diagrams. Caldwell returned it with a red F across the front. Suspected plagiarism, the note read. Report to the Academic Integrity Office. Jamal's stomach dropped. Plagiarism. Every word was his own. The meeting lasted 3 hours. 2 administrators questioned him, made him explain his work line by line, checked every source. They found nothing, because there was nothing to find. "You're cleared," the dean said finally. "No further action. No apology. No acknowledgement of the accusation's damage." When Jamal returned to class, Caldwell was waiting. "Well," the professor said loudly, "glad we cleared that up, though I must say it was suspicious for someone at your level to produce such work." Translation: I still don't believe you earned it. Other incidents followed. Small, constant, exhausting. Caldwell called on Jamal in class. When he answered correctly, lucky guess. When Jamal asked questions, perhaps review the basics before wasting our time. When Jamal worked with lab partners, Caldwell separated them. Mr. Richardson needs to prove he can work independently. Code for, I don't trust you not to cheat. The other students noticed. Some felt uncomfortable but said nothing. Others took it as permission. In the hallway, someone accidentally knocked Jamal's books from his hands. In study groups, his suggestions were ignored until a white student repeated them. In the machine shop, someone changed his CAD file settings. His project printed wrong. He had to start over. Death by 1,000 cuts. Alex saw it happening. "You should report him. This is discrimination." "Report him with what proof?" Jamal asked. "He never says anything directly. It's all implications. Tone, looks." "Then record him. And become the angry black student who can't handle criticism? That'll help my career." Jamal was trapped. Fight back and confirm their stereotypes. Stay silent and endure. He chose silence. At night, in his dorm room, he opened his notebook, the one his grandfather gave him before he died. Inside, Marcus Richardson's handwriting filled the pages. 40 years of observations, engine specs, problem-solving techniques. The last entry, written in shaky letters. "Jamal, they will tell you that you don't belong. Don't believe them. Trust your hands, trust your ears. The machine doesn't lie. People do." Jamal traced the words with his finger. His grandfather had worked at GM for 4 decades, never promoted past the floor, passed over for men with less experience but the right skin color. But Marcus was the best diagnostic mechanic in the plant. Everyone knew it. When an engine made a strange sound, they called Marcus. When a design had a flaw, Marcus found it. He just never got credit. "I won't be like you, Grandpa," Jamal whispered. "I'll make them see." The midterm project arrived in week 8. Caldwell wheeled the diesel engine into the lab on a metal cart. It looked ancient, covered in dust and oil stains. "This engine has stumped 20 students per semester for 2 years, Caldwell announced. 47 have tried to fix it. 47 have failed." He smiled. "Your task is simple. Diagnose the problem. Propose a solution. Present your findings in 2 weeks. Students crowded around, took photos, made notes. Jamal hung back, watched, listened. The engine sat silent. But engines always talked. You just had to know their language. Over the next 2 weeks, students worked frantically. They ran computer simulations, consulted textbooks. Some hired outside consultants for hundreds of dollars. The wealthy kids had advantages. One student's father owned an engineering firm. He had his dad's team analyze the engine remotely. Another student paid a graduate student $200 to help. Jamal had none of that. Just his grandfather's tools, his notebook, and his hands. He spent hours in the lab after everyone left, touched every part of the engine, listened to it, felt the metal's temperature distribution. Something was wrong, but not what everyone else found. The other students concluded the engine had a fatal design flaw, low compression ratio, bad timing chain, faulty valve train, all expensive problems, all requiring complete redesigns. Jamal disagreed. He'd learned something from his grandfather. When an engine fails consistently in the same way, check the simple things first: fuel delivery, air intake, oil pressure. One night at 2 a.m., Jamal was alone in the lab. He started the engine. It coughed, sputtered, died after 3 seconds, just like everyone said. But Jamal heard something in those 3 seconds. A knock from deep in the crankshaft area. Not a design flaw knock. A starvation knock. The bearings weren't getting oil. He checked the oil level. Full. Checked the pump. Working. Checked the filter. Clean. So why was there no oil pressure? Then he remembered something his grandfather taught him. If everything works but nothing works, check gravity and geometry. Jamal grabbed 2 students walking past. "Help me tilt this engine stand." They looked at him like he was crazy, but they helped. They tilted the stand 15 degrees to the right. Jamal started the engine. It ran, smoothly, no knocking. For 2 full minutes, he shut it off, tilted it back level, started it again. 3 seconds. Knock. Dead. "What the hell?" one student muttered. Jamal's heart raced. He knew what this meant. The problem wasn't the design. It was the installation. He opened his notebook, started drawing, calculating. The pieces fell into place. By dawn, he had his answer. And it was going to embarrass a lot of people, especially Professor Caldwell. Presentation day arrived. 15 students went before Jamal. Every single one proposed expensive redesigns. Caldwell nodded approvingly at each. "Good analysis. You understand the fundamentals." Then Jamal's name was called. He walked to the front, notebook in hand. No PowerPoint, no fancy presentation. Caldwell's expression shifted. Anticipation mixed with contempt. "Well, Mr. Richardson, enlighten us." Jamal opened his mouth to speak. That's when Caldwell snatched the notebook away. And the humiliation began. But here's what Caldwell didn't know, what none of them knew. That bent oil pickup tube, the one causing all the problems? Caldwell himself had installed it. 2 years ago, when he rebuilt the engine for teaching purposes, he'd over-torqued the mounting bolt, bent the tube 20 degrees, created a problem that only appeared when the engine sat level. 47 students had failed because of his mistake, and in a few minutes, an 18-year-old from Detroit was about to prove it. If you've ever spotted something everyone else missed, drop a comment. Because what happens next changes everything. Detroit, Michigan. Summer of 2014. 8-year-old Jamal sat in his grandfather's garage. The smell of motor oil filled the air. Jazz played softly on an old radio. Marcus Richardson stood over a Chevy engine. 65 years old, 40 years at General Motors. "Close your eyes, boy." Jamal obeyed. Marcus started the engine. "What do you hear?" "An engine running?" "No, listen deeper." Jamal focused, past the rumble. There was something else. A clicking sound, metal on metal. "Something's clicking." "Where?" "The right side, middle area." Marcus smiled. "Shut off the engine." "Open your eyes." He pointed to a bearing. "Worn out right there. You heard it on the first try." That was lesson 1. Listen. Every engine has a voice. Healthy ones purr. Sick ones knock, cough, wheeze. Learn the language. Marcus played recordings every evening. Different engine problems. Jamal had to diagnose by sound alone. Within 6 months, he could identify 20 different problems. Lesson 2. Feel. Marcus taught him to place his hands on running engines. Feel the vibrations. Smooth meant balanced. Irregular meant trouble. Computers lie, Marcus said. Sensors break. Your hands always tell the truth. Lesson 3. Trust instinct. Marcus told him about 1987. GM launched a new transmission. Engineers said it was perfect. Computer tests all passed. But Marcus felt the vibrations wrong, reported it, got ignored. 6 months later, 50,000 vehicles recalled. Transmission failures everywhere. They had fancy degrees, Marcus said. I had 40 years of work. I was right. They were wrong. He never got promoted for that. Just a pat on the back. Why didn't they listen? Marcus was quiet. Because men like me aren't supposed to be smarter than men like them. That's how the world works, boy. That's not fair. No. But fair doesn't pay bills. So we do excellent work anyway. Maybe someday somebody will listen. Summer of 2012. Marcus had a stroke. Mild, doctors said. But his career ended. Couldn't work assembly lines anymore. GM offered early retirement. He took it. The teaching intensified. Marcus knew his time was limited. He had knowledge to pass on. They fixed every broken car in the neighborhood. Marcus let Jamal diagnose first. Then they repaired it together. By 13, Jamal could rebuild a carburetor blindfolded. By 14, he diagnosed most problems in 5 minutes. Marcus gave him a notebook. Write everything down. Every engine, every problem, every lesson. He showed Jamal his own notebooks. 50 years of entries, grease-stained pages. This is our family knowledge. Nobody can take this from us. Jamal filled page after page. Diagrams, calculations, observations. At night, while his mother worked hospital shifts, he studied. Math, physics, chemistry. His grades were perfect. Teachers talked about college, but college needed money they didn't have. Then 2020 came. The pandemic. Marcus got COVID. Hospital on Tuesday. Ventilator by Friday. Jamal couldn't visit. Hospital rules. Sunday morning. The phone rang. His mother's face said everything. Marcus was gone. The funeral was small. 10 people in masks. Everything felt wrong. They buried him in his GM jacket. 40 years stitched on the sleeve. After everyone left, Jamal sat alone by the gravestone. He opened his notebook, the one Marcus gave him. The last page had new writing. He hadn't seen it before. Marcus must have written it before getting sick. The handwriting shook. But the message was clear. Jamal, they're gonna tell you that you don't belong. That your kind of knowing ain't real knowing. Don't believe them. The machine don't care about your skin or your degree. It only cares if you understand its language. You speak that language better than anyone I ever met. Make me proud. Grandpa Marcus. Jamal read it 3 times, then closed the notebook. I promise, Grandpa, I'll make you proud. 2 years later, senior year of high school. The MIT acceptance letter arrived. Full scholarship. His mother cried for an hour. Jamal held Marcus's notebook tight. We did it, Grandpa. But MIT was different. Harder than expected. Not the classes. Those were fine. It was everything else. Students asked how he got in. Not congratulations, suspicion. In study groups, his ideas were ignored until white students repeated them. Professors looked past him, through him, like he was invisible. And Professor Caldwell was the worst. The plagiarism accusation, the public doubts, the constant dismissals. Every night, Jamal opened Marcus's notebook. Read that last message. The machine doesn't lie. People do. He'd learned engines from a master, a man with no degree but more knowledge than most engineers. Marcus was right about everything, except one thing. He said maybe someday somebody would listen. Jamal was tired of waiting for maybe. Standing in that lab, Caldwell mocking him, students laughing. It was time to make them listen. Not with words, with proof. The machine was about to tell its truth, and Jamal was the only one who could hear it. Jamal stands at the front of the lab. His notebook lies scattered on the floor. Pages bent, corners torn. He bends down slowly, picks up each sheet. His hands shake slightly. 44 students watch. Some look uncomfortable. Most stay silent. A few still smirk. Caldwell crosses his arms. Well, are you going to waste more of our time, or admit you're out of your depth? Jamal gathers the last page, stands up, looks directly at the professor. Sir, I'd like to demonstrate my findings. Demonstrate? Caldwell laughs. Everyone else understood this required theoretical analysis, complex calculations. But you want to play mechanic? I have calculations, sir, but I think a demonstration would be clearer. Of course you do, because thinking is hard. Doing it is easy. More laughter from the students. Caldwell checks his watch, makes a show of it. Fine, I'll give you 5 minutes. When you fail this midterm, which means you fail this course, which means goodbye scholarship. Understood? Jamal's throat is tight. His scholarship requires a 3.5 GPA minimum. Failing this course means losing everything. I understand, sir. Good. Then begin your little show. Jamal walks toward the engine. Caldwell steps in his path. Wait, let's make this interesting. If you're so confident, let's raise the stakes. He turns to the class. How many of you found fundamental design flaws? Every hand goes up. And Mr. Richardson here claims it's just a simple adjustment. Caldwell's smile is cruel. So here's the deal. You get 10 minutes total, 5 to diagnose, 5 to fix. If you're right, I'll personally apologize to you in front of the entire department. He pauses. But when you're wrong, you don't just fail. You withdraw from MIT, tonight, because clearly you're not ready for this level of education. The room goes completely silent. Alex stands up. Professor, that's not fair. Sit down, Mr. Carter, unless you'd like to join him. Alex sits. Caldwell looks at Jamal. Well, do we have a deal? This is insane. Jamal knows it. 10 minutes to prove something that could end his entire future. But he also knows what he heard, what he felt, what the engine told him. The machine doesn't lie. Deal, but I need access to the engine, S2, and I need my tools. Your tools? Caldwell gestures dismissively. Fine. Get your little toolbox. Let's see what Detroit public education can accomplish. Jamal walks to his station, opens his backpack. Inside is Marcus's red snap-on toolbox. 40 years old, dented, worn, but every tool is perfectly maintained. He carries it back, sets it on the bench beside the engine. That's when the lab door opens. An elderly woman walks in, gray hair, leather jacket over a blouse, walking with a wooden cane. The room freezes. Professor Margaret Carter, Professor Emeritus, legend. She founded MIT's Advanced Propulsion Lab in 1985. First woman to get tenure in mechanical engineering. Designed engine systems for NASA, Tesla, Formula One. She retired 3 years ago, but she still has an office. Still drops by occasionally. Nobody expected her today. Margaret, Caldwell says. His tone shifts, becomes almost respectful. This is just a student presentation. Nothing that requires... I heard raised voices from my office, Carter interrupts. She walks slowly to the front. Her cane taps against the floor. Sounded like something interesting. She looks at Jamal, then at the scattered notebook pages, then at Caldwell. What's happening here, Harrison? Caldwell clears his throat. Mr. Richardson has an unorthodox theory about the test engine. I'm giving him a chance to prove it. Unorthodox how? He thinks it's a simple mechanical adjustment. Everyone else correctly identified fundamental design flaws. Chen walks to the engine, examines it, touches the housing, looks at the mounting. This is the engine you've been using for 2 years? Yes. Excellent teaching tool. Really separates theoretical understanding from what? Carter turns to face him. From practical knowledge? Caldwell hesitates. From guesswork. Chen looks at Jamal, studies him for a moment. What's your name? Jamal Richardson, ma'am. First year? Yes, ma'am. And what's your theory? Jamal swallows. This is Professor Carter. The Professor Carter. He's read her papers, studied her designs. Ma'am, I believe the engine's failure is due to oil starvation, but not from a design flaw, from an installation error. Specifically, the oil pickup tube is bent. When the engine is level, the tube can't reach the oil. When tilted, it can. Chen's eyebrows raise slightly. You tested this? Yes, ma'am. Last week. Late at night. The engine runs perfectly when tilted 15 degrees to the right. Interesting. She looks at Caldwell. Harrison, did you know about this? It's irrelevant, Caldwell says quickly. Even if true, it doesn't change the fundamental. It changes everything, Carter interrupts. If the engine fails due to installation, not design, then 2 years of students have been solving the wrong problem. She turns back to Jamal. You have tools? Yes, ma'am. He points to Marcus's toolbox. Chen sees it, walks over, touches the worn red metal. Snap on. 1980s model. Well maintained. She looks at Jamal. These were your grandfather's? Yes, ma'am. He worked at GM for 40 years. Something shifts in Carter's expression. Respect. Then you learned from a real engineer. She turns to Caldwell. Give him fair conditions, Harrison. I want to see this. Caldwell's jaw tightens. Margaret, I don't think... I'm not asking. Her voice is steel. This student deserves a fair test. You made him a deal. Honor it. But I'm observing to ensure accuracy. She walks to a stool, sits down, places her cane across her lap. Mr. Richardson, you have 10 minutes. Show us what you've got. The whole room shifts. Students sit up straighter, stop smirking, start paying attention. Because when Professor Carter watches, you pay attention. Caldwell is trapped. He can't back down now, not in front of her. Fine. He sets a timer on his phone. 10 minutes, starting now. The timer begins counting down. Jamal takes a deep breath, opens his toolbox. The smell of old metal and oil hits him. Smells like Marcus's garage, like home. He can do this. He has to do this. For Marcus, for his mother, for every kid told they don't belong. The machine doesn't lie. Time to prove it. The timer reads 9 minutes, 58 seconds. Jamal doesn't move toward the engine immediately. He stands still, eyes closed. A student whispers, "What's he doing?" Another laughs quietly. Praying, probably. But Jamal isn't praying. He's listening. This is what Marcus taught him first. Before touching, before testing, listen. He walks slowly around the engine, not looking at it, just listening to the silence. The room itself talks. The hum of fluorescent lights. The ventilation system. The breathing of 45 people. And underneath all that, the engine's silence. The particular quality of a machine that wants to run but can't. 8 minutes, Caldwell announces. Jamal opens his eyes, walks to his toolbox, takes out a small hammer, a flashlight, a rag. Students exchange confused glances. That's it? That's all he's bringing? He approaches the engine, places one hand on the block, feels the ambient temperature. Cold. This engine hasn't run in days. He taps the hammer gently against different points on the block, listening to each sound. Tap, tap, tap. The sound changes slightly at each point. Solid here, slightly hollow there, dense here, resonance there. What is he doing? Someone whispers. Chen leans forward, watching intently. She knows exactly what he's doing. Acoustic analysis. Old school. The way mechanics diagnosed problems before computers. Jamal moves to the oil pan area, taps 6 points in a circle, listens carefully to each one. Then he stops, taps one spot again, and again. There. The sound is different. Wrong frequency. Wrong resonance. He pulls out his notebook, flips to a page filled with wave diagrams, numbers, calculations. 7 minutes, Caldwell says. Louder this time. Jamal ignores him. He's found something. He turns to Caldwell. Sir, may I start the engine? It won't run. That's the whole point. I know, sir, but I need to hear how it fails. Caldwell waves dismissively. Waste your time. Jamal turns the key. The engine coughs, sputters, makes a grinding noise, dies after exactly 3 seconds. Everyone's seen this before. It's what the engine always does. But Jamal heard something specific. In those 3 seconds, a sequence. Second 1, normal startup sound. Second 2, a knocking from deep in the crankshaft area. Second 3, the knocking intensifies. Then silence. He starts it again, presses his ear against the oil pan. Cough, knock, knock, knock. Dead. Again. Same pattern, same timing. 6 minutes, Caldwell announces. Getting nervous yet? Jamal straightens up, looks at the class. The knocking sound you hear is bearing damage, but it's not developing during these 3 seconds. It's happening immediately. That means oil starvation right from the start. He walks to the whiteboard, grabs a marker. Oil pump is here. He draws quickly. Filter here, pressure sensor here, pickup tube here. He circles the pickup tube. Everything upstream works. I've checked. The problem is in the pickup itself. A student raises her hand. But the oil level is full. We all checked. Correct. Oil is there, but it's not getting to the pump. Why? He draws a diagram, shows the pickup tube reaching down into the oil pan. The tube needs to sit in the deepest part of the oil, but if it's positioned wrong or bent or blocked, it sucks air instead of oil. Caldwell interrupts. We've been through this. The design specifications are correct. The tube is installed per manufacturer guidelines. Then why does the engine run when tilted? The room goes quiet. Chen sits up straighter. 5 minutes, Caldwell says, but his voice has changed, less confident. Jamal walks back to the engine. I need to remove the oil pan, may I? You can't disassemble an engine in 5 minutes, Caldwell says. I can remove an oil pan in 6. I've done it before. Chen speaks. Let him try, Harrison. Caldwell has no choice. Fine, but every second you waste takes away from your fix time. Jamal grabs a socket wrench from his toolbox, slides underneath the engine on a mechanic's creeper someone brings over. His hands move fast. Automatic. Muscle memory. He locates the oil pan bolts. 16 of them. Begins removing them in sequence. Not randomly, in a specific pattern. The opposite of the torque sequence. 1, 2, 3. Students count quietly. His hands don't fumble, don't hesitate. He knows where every bolt is without looking. 4 minutes left. 8 bolts removed. 3 minutes left. 14 bolts removed. 2 minutes left. All 16 bolts out. Jamal slides out from underneath, grabs the oil pan edges, wiggles it gently to break the gasket seal. It comes free. Oil drains into a catch pan, dark and dirty. He sets the oil pan aside, grabs his flashlight, shines it up into the exposed area where the pickup tube sits. And there it is. "Oh my God," he whispers. Chen stands, walks closer. "What do you see?" Jamal holds up a small inspection mirror, angles it so Carter can see. The oil pickup tube. The metal straw that's supposed to draw oil from the pan to the pump. It's bent. Not dramatically, but definitely bent. About 20 degrees off angle. The bend is right at the mounting point, where the tube connects to the pump. When the engine sits level, the bent tube points upward. It can't reach the oil, just sucks air. When tilted, gravity pulls the oil deeper. The tube finally reaches it. Chen examines it carefully. How did this happen? Jamal looks at the mounting bolt, sees crush marks on the tube. Someone over-torqued the mounting bolt. Probably used an impact wrench without checking torque specs. The bolt crushed the tube, bent it. He pulls out his notebook, shows his calculations. I measured the angle, 22 degrees. At level orientation, the tube opening sits 1.3 inches above the oil surface. That's why it fails in 3 seconds, burns through the residual oil in the pump. Then starvation. Chen takes the notebook, studies the calculations, the diagrams, the measurements. Her expression changes. Respect. Real respect. She looks at Caldwell. Harrison, who assembled this engine? Caldwell's face goes pale. That's not relevant. Who assembled it? Silence. Chen walks to a filing cabinet, pulls out a logbook, flips through pages. Test Engine 7, rebuilt and prepared for teaching use. September 2022. She looks up. Signed by Professor H. Caldwell. The room explodes in whispers. Caldwell assembled it. This whole time, the unfixable flaw. The fundamental design problem. It was his mistake. 1 minute, someone says quietly. Jamal is still under the timer. 1 minute to fix it. Caldwell tries to recover. Even so, you can't fix a bent tube. It needs replacement. That's not a repair, that's a parts swap. Jamal reaches into his toolbox, pulls out a small metal tube, 6 inches long, 2 rubber couplings, 2 hose clamps. I don't need to straighten it. I can bypass it. He slides back underneath, works fast, disconnects the bent tube from the pump inlet, attaches his extension tube using the rubber coupling and clamp, routes the extension around the bent section, secures the other end deep into the oil pan mounting area. 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds. Done, Jamal calls out. He slides out, stands up, oil on his shirt, grease on his hands. The timer hits 0. Caldwell opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. That's not engineered. That's improvised. It won't hold under pressure. Let's test it, Carter says. She walks to the engine, examines Jamal's work, the tube routing, the clamps, the connections. It's clean work, proper clamps, good positioning. She looks at Caldwell. Start it, Harrison. Margaret, this is absurd. We can't base engineering solutions on... Start the engine. Caldwell has no choice. Not with Carter here. Not with 45 witnesses. He turns the key. The engine starts, runs for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. No knocking, just smooth, steady, idle. 30 seconds. 1 minute, 2 minutes. The oil pressure gauge reads 60 psi. Perfect. Students pull out phones. Start recording. This is going viral tonight. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. The engine purrs. Consistent, healthy, no problems. Chen walks to the oil pressure sensor, checks it with a handheld gauge. 62 psi, that's textbook correct. She looks at Caldwell. Harrison, your assessment? Caldwell stands frozen. His face is red, jaw clenched tight. The modification appears functional. Functional? Carter's voice is sharp. It's elegant. An $8 solution to a problem that stumped 47 students over 2 years. She turns to the class. Does everyone understand what just happened? This young man diagnosed a problem in 5 minutes that none of you found, because you were looking at theory. He was listening to the machine. One student speaks up. Professor Caldwell, you told us it was a fundamental design flaw. You said it couldn't be fixed without a complete rebuild. Another student, bolder. I failed this midterm last semester. I proposed a $15,000 redesign. Are you saying I failed because of a bent tube? Another. I changed my major because I thought I wasn't smart enough for engineering. The questions keep coming. The anger builds. Caldwell tries to speak. The assignment was still valid as a teaching... Teaching what? A female student stands. Teaching us to ignore evidence? I got an F because my solution wasn't expensive enough? Chen raises her hand. Silence falls. This requires a formal review. Harrison, we'll discuss this in my office. Now. She turns to Jamal. Mr. Richardson, what's your major? Mechanical engineering, ma'am. Good. Come to my office tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I have a research position that needs someone who actually understands machines. Jamal's voice shakes. A research position? But I'm only a freshman. I don't care what year you are. I care if you can think. You can. She taps her cane. 9 a.m. Don't be late. She walks to the door, pauses, looks back at Caldwell. And Harrison, you owe this student an apology, in front of the entire department. I'll be scheduling that for next week. She leaves. The door closes behind her. The lab erupts, students talking, filming, gathering around the running engine. Alex runs up, hugs Jamal. Dude, you did it! Jamal looks at the engine, still running smoothly, still proving him right. He opens Marcus's notebook. Look at the last page. His grandfather's words. The machine doesn't lie. People do. He was right, Grandpa. You were always right. If you've ever proven someone wrong who underestimated you, drop a fire emoji below, because what happens next to Professor Caldwell will shock you. The engine runs. 5 minutes becomes 10. 10 becomes 15. Students crowd around, phones recording, flash photography lighting up the lab. Caldwell stands frozen at the front. His carefully constructed authority crumbled with every smooth revolution of that engine. Professor Caldwell. A student's voice cuts through the noise. I failed last semester. You told me my analysis was insufficient, that I didn't understand fundamental engineering. She holds up her old report. I proposed replacing the crankshaft. Cost estimate, $12,000. Are you saying I failed because you installed a tube wrong? Another student steps forward. I got a D. Had to retake the class. Delayed my graduation by a semester. I lost my scholarship. I changed majors. I almost dropped out. The voices pile up. Anger. Hurt. Years of damage surfacing. Caldwell's face goes from red to white. Everyone, please. The pedagogical value of the assignment remains... Pedagogical value. Alex stands. You humiliated people, called them stupid, made them doubt themselves. For your mistake, the teaching assistant, Maria, steps forward. She's been silent until now. Professor, I helped you rebuild that engine in 2022. You told me to torque the pickup mounting bolt to standard spec. I said it seemed tight. You said I was wrong. Her voice shakes. I've been grading papers based on your rubric for 2 years, failing students who couldn't find a problem that didn't exist. She sets her grading folder on the desk. I can't do this anymore. She walks out. The room is chaos now, students arguing, some defending Caldwell, most condemning him. Then someone shouts, "Wait, look at this!" A student holds up his phone. Professor Caldwell's published paper from 2021, Common Installation Errors in Oil System Assembly. Page 7. He literally wrote about over-torquing pickup tubes. He reads aloud. Excessive torque on mounting hardware can deform thin-walled tubes, leading to orientation errors and subsequent oil starvation failures. The irony hits like a hammer. Caldwell wrote about the exact mistake he made. Another student finds more. His consulting company website. He offers services to diagnose installation errors in engine assembly. The room turns. Everyone is looking at Caldwell. He's been teaching a class on finding unfixable design flaws, while the real problem was his own installation error, an error he wrote papers about, an error he consults companies to avoid. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Jamal stands quiet through all of this, watching, processing. He walks to where Caldwell stands, faces him directly. "Professor." His voice is steady, calm. "You made a deal. If I was right, you'd apologize. In front of everyone." Caldwell's jaw works. No words come out. "I'm right. The engine runs. Your mistake has been failing students for 2 years. The room goes silent. Everyone is waiting. Caldwell's eyes dart around, looking for escape, finding none. "Mr. Richardson." His voice is barely audible. "Your analysis was correct. And I was mistaken in my assessment. And the comments about affirmative action, about lowered standards, about me not belonging here." Every phone in the room is recording now. This moment will be everywhere by midnight. Caldwell's face twists, pride fighting survival instinct. He knows Carter is watching this somehow, knows the department will hear about it. Those comments were inappropriate. Inappropriate? Jamal's voice rises for the first time. "You called me for a diversity admission, said I couldn't spell thermodynamics, threw my work on the floor." He picks up his notebook. The page is still bent from earlier. "You accused me of plagiarism last month, made me sit through 3 hours of interrogation, found nothing, never apologized." He steps closer. "You've been doing this to students like me for years, and today, an 18-year-old from Detroit with his grandfather's tools just proved you don't know what you're talking about." The room holds its breath. Caldwell opens his mouth, closes it. He looks old suddenly, tired. "I apologize." The words come out flat, hollow. "You were right. I was wrong. Look at me when you say it." Caldwell's eyes meet Jamal's, for just a second, then drop. "I apologize, Mr. Richardson. Your solution was correct. Mine was not." It's not a real apology. Everyone knows it. But it's on camera, witnessed, undeniable. Jamal nods, picks up Marcus's toolbox. "This is my grandfather's toolbox, Marcus Richardson. 40 years at GM, no engineering degree, just knowledge, real knowledge." He looks around the room. "He taught me that machines don't lie, only people do." He looks back at Caldwell. "You lied to 47 students, told them they weren't good enough. When the truth is, you weren't good enough to check your own work." He walks toward the door, stops, turns back. "I'll be at Professor Carter's office tomorrow at 9 a.m. I earned that." He walks out. The door closes behind him. The engine is still running, smooth and steady, proving him right with every revolution. In the hallway, Jamal leans against the wall. His hands shake now, adrenaline wearing off. Alex comes out, finds him, doesn't say anything, just stands there. After a minute, Jamal speaks. "Did that really just happen?" "Yeah, man, that really just happened." Jamal looks at his grandfather's toolbox, runs his hand over the worn red metal. "We did it, Grandpa." They listened. Inside the lab, students are already posting videos, hashtags forming. Justice for Jamal, MIT engineering scandal, professor exposed. By morning, the story will be everywhere. But right now, at this moment, Jamal just breathes. He proved it. Not with anger, not with violence, with knowledge. The machine told the truth, and finally, people heard it. 9 a.m. the next morning. Jamal stands outside Professor Carter's office, 3rd floor, corner office with windows overlooking the Charles River. He knocks. "Come in." The office is different from what he expected. No fancy furniture, no ego wall of awards, just bookshelves filled with technical manuals, a workbench covered in engine parts, diagrams taped to every wall. Chen sits at her desk, gestures to a chair. "Sit." Jamal sits. His hands grip Marcus's toolbox on his lap. "That was quite a performance yesterday," Carter says. "I wasn't performing, ma'am. I was proving what I knew." "I know. That's why you're here." She pulls out a folder. "I run a research lab. We develop thermal management systems for electric vehicle powertrains. High efficiency, cutting edge." She slides the folder across. "I need someone who understands how machines actually work. Not just theory. Reality." Jamal opens the folder. Research assistant position, $25 per hour, 10 hours per week. "That's $250 a week," he says quietly. More money than he's ever made. "Can you start Monday?" "Yes, ma'am, absolutely." "Good. You'll work with 3 PhD students. They're brilliant theoretically, but they need someone who can feel when something's wrong. Someone who listens." She stands, walks to her window. "I've been at MIT for 40 years, built this department, and I've watched people like Caldwell turn it into a credentialing factory." She turns. "You know what separates good engineers from great ones? Great ones know that knowledge comes from everywhere. Your grandfather with 40 years on an assembly line? He was a great engineer. No degree needed." Jamal's throat tightens. "I called the dean this morning," Carter continues. "There will be a formal investigation into Caldwell's midterm practices. Every student who failed in the past 2 years will have their grade reviewed." "What about Professor Caldwell?" "That's not your concern. But between us, his time here is ending." She walks back to her desk, opens a drawer, pulls out a checkbook. "Your midterm grade is an A, but you also just saved this department from a major scandal." She writes a check, slides it over. $5,000. Jamal stares. "Ma'am, I can't." "You can. That's your consulting fee. You identified a systematic failure in our teaching methodology. You're entitled to compensation." She extends her hand. "Welcome to the research team, Mr. Richardson." Jamal shakes it. His hand is still trembling slightly. "Thank you, Professor Carter. Thank you." "Don't thank me. You earned this. Now go prove everyone else wrong, too." The investigation takes 2 weeks. The department reviews every midterm from the past 2 years, every grade, every student complains. The pattern emerges clearly. Students of color in Caldwell's class. Average grade, 2.1. White students. Average grade, 3.4. Same quality work. Different outcomes. 5 plagiarism accusations in 2 years. All against minority students. None proven. All left permanent scars on records. The teaching assistant provides evidence. Emails from Caldwell. Grade these students more strictly. Never naming race, but always the same students. 15 former students submit complaints. Stories flood in. A black woman accused of cheating. Her code was too sophisticated. A Latino student told his accent made him hard to understand. His written work was perfect. An Asian student informed me that your people copy, not innovate. 2 years of systematic damage. The hearing happens Wednesday. By Friday, the decision comes. Professor Harrison Caldwell is removed from teaching immediately, stripped of his admissions committee position, banned from scholarship decisions. 2 options: accept a reduced research role with lower pay, or take early retirement. He chooses retirement, sends a brief email. No apology, just gone. His consulting company removes MIT from their website. Speaking engagements cancel. Conference invitations disappear. 3 months later, he surfaces at a small college in rural Pennsylvania. Teaching introductory courses. No research lab, no graduate students, no influence. He tells people about cancel culture, calls himself a victim. But his former students know the truth. MIT implements changes. 23 students request grade reviews. 15 grades change from F to pass. The woman who lost her scholarship gets it reinstated, plus compensation. The student who changed majors returns to engineering, joins Carter's lab with Jamal. New policy: all test equipment must be verified by 2 faculty members before student evaluation. Anonymous bias reporting system created. Student evaluations revised with specific questions about fair treatment. Professor Carter establishes something bigger. The Marcus Richardson Memorial Scholarship, $10,000 annually, for students from non-traditional backgrounds, students who learned engineering in garages, not classrooms. Requirements: financial need, plus a video showing something built, fixed, or designed outside school. The first recipient: a young woman from Alabama. Father owns an auto shop. She's rebuilt transmissions since age 12. Now she's at MIT. Full scholarship. Jamal helps select recipients every year, asks them about their teachers, their families, where real learning happened. The story goes viral. YouTube, TikTok, Reddit. Black student exposes racist professor. 12 million views in 1 week. NPR covers it. Chronicle of Higher Education investigates bias in engineering programs nationwide. Students at other schools come forward. Similar stories, similar patterns. A movement begins. Hashtag Justice for Jamal spreads, becomes bigger. Justice for every student told they don't belong. 5 universities review their engineering departments. 3 professors at different schools retire quietly. The system doesn't transform overnight, but cracks appear. Light enters. Caldwell's legacy at MIT. Not his papers, not his tenure, but a warning. A reminder that prejudice has consequences. That underestimating people based on appearance costs everything. That an 18-year-old with his grandfather's tools can expose decades of academic arrogance. Marcus Richardson never got recognition at GM. 40 years of brilliance overlooked. But his grandson ensures his name lives on. In a scholarship. In a movement. Every student who walks into MIT knows that knowledge comes from everywhere. Not just textbooks and laboratories, but garages and assembly lines in the hands of people who built America while being told they weren't smart enough. Caldwell lost everything trying to protect a lie. Jamal gained everything by revealing the truth. The machine doesn't lie. It never did. 6 months later, Jamal stands in front of 30 freshman students. Carter's new workshop. Practical engineering fundamentals. Half the students come from non-traditional backgrounds. Farm kids, military families, auto shop children. My grandfather never went to college, Jamal begins. Worked 40 years at GM. Some people thought that made him less qualified. He opens Marcus's red toolbox on the desk. But he understood engines better than most professors, because he listened, he felt, he trusted what machines told him. He looks at the students, sees himself 6 months ago. You're at MIT now, you'll learn theory, mathematics, simulations. That's important. But don't forget where you came from. Don't forget who taught you. The machine doesn't care about your credentials, only if you understand its language. A young black girl in the front row raises her hand. What if people say we don't belong? Jamal smiles, touches his grandfather's toolbox. Then prove them wrong. Not with anger, with excellence. Behind him on the wall hangs a photo. Marcus Richardson, 1947 to 2020, master engineer. The legacy continues. Have you ever been underestimated because of where you came from? Drop a comment below. Share this video with someone who needs to know that brilliance doesn't require permission. And subscribe because there's one detail at minute 3 that only sharp viewers noticed. Go back and watch. You'll see exactly when Caldwell realized he was about to lose everything. Hit that subscribe button. More stories of people who changed the system coming soon.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.